Welcome back. Thanks for joining me for my weekly update. I really do appreciate it. Today marks 198 days cancer free. I took 75,663 steps and had more than 25 pounds of fruits and veggies, and I am grateful for another day. So, I really, it's been a good week. Um, Something I'm grateful for. So, my son Luke would be one on Friday, and while he was not with us for as long as I would like, the time that we did have with him was the best it could be. And the reason for that was maybe not the only reason, but a big part of the reason for that was St. Jude. So this week I am grateful for St. Jude. Um, Hopefully, no one ever has to experience what St. Jude has to offer. But if ever you do, there is a difference from the care you get, and obviously they work on donations. They're a charity. That's why they're able to do what they do. And if you're ever thinking about giving, and you've ever wondered, what are they really doing with the money? Are they really living out their vision? They do. They really do. They take care of you. They take care of the whole family and not just the patient. And they don't bill you, which is huge, especially when you're dealing with something like cancer. So, yeah, grateful for them. And if anyone's ever wondered about St. Jude, they are truly amazing. And if you're ever considering giving to a charity, there is no better one out there besides St. Jude. All right. So this week, I wanted to talk about sleep and um, something I've been learning more about and just trying to understand and put a little bit of a priority on. And disclaimer at the beginning, I'm not a sleep expert or anything. This is just what I've discovered, and I thought that some people might be interested or learn something. As always, I always recommend you do your own research to validate anything that I say or what you already might believe. But it is a pretty vital function, and I think we all know it's important. We don't necessarily know why. So the the ticket here is the Goldilocks zone of sleep. So optimal sleep is kind of key to a lot of things, both your mental and physical health. And I'll jump into some of the details of it. But an interesting fact that I kind of came across was it's not like this endless well of excitement where the more sleep you get, the better. No, it's you literally have to get the perfect amount of sleep, and if you get that, it's amazing. If you don't, it is bad for you, and we'll dive into that. Um, Generally speaking, recommended sleep duration is 7 to 9 hours, somewhere in that range. Depends on your own body and whatnot. Um, per experts and whatnot. All right, so what happens when you actually sleep? So, we all go to sleep. We do this every night. We literally are all experts on sleep, but do we really know what's going on? So, we've all heard of the REM cycle. When you go to sleep, your body will cycle through NREM and REM stages, which just supports the restorative and cognitive functions in your brain. Your brain waves kind of go different. There's different patterns that happen: alpha, beta, theta, and delta. I didn't dig too much into the patterns, but apparently that happens, and you can see the neurological activity. I guess where you can see dreams and things like that. Your cardiovascular system fluctuates, so your heart rate and blood pressure move around during NREM and REM. And the key here is during this process, it regulates your cardiovascular workload. Um, so it gives you rest and prepares your body for activity the next day, which is great, but disruptions in this can really have bigger impacts. There's a growth hormone release, which is mainly done during sleep, and it's essential for your growth. So obviously, kids they sleep more than adults, but it's also important for your metabolism, for tissue repair, and muscle development. So some of the things that you don't really associate to sleep are a lot happens to you to improve your life while you sleep. Then you get melatonin secretion, which is a chemical that helps you fall asleep, but it regulates your sleep wake cycle. And this is something that happens naturally, but you can also take melatonin as a supplement. You might have seen gummies and things like that. But it also, interestingly, acts as an antioxidant and an anti-inflammatory. And there have been some studies, well, I'm not specifically going to reference them, that have linked it with helping fight cancer. So melatonin in particular is a really powerful chemical that your body releases when you sleep that has really big impacts on your regenerative health, right? Your breathing patterns alter as well. So this is more of if you're checking to see if something's wrong, right? So if everything goes well, your breathing is kind of normal. Interesting. I was talking to my wife since I've done all this stuff. She's like, you sleep really quiet. And she's like, I like get up and check on you. Like, are you still alive? I think before when I slept, I probably made more noise because my nose was clogged up a lot. But now my nose is clear basically all the time. I attribute that to beta glucan. I got a different video on that, but it could be a lot of things. But it's interesting because like I am legit quieter. it's anyway. Sorry, I went off on a little tangent there. It had nothing to do with what's going on here. Okay, so the other thing that happens is muscle relaxes and anatonia, and this happens during NREM, which is and then nearly paralyzed in REM. So we all hear about REM. That's when you're in like your deep sleep, right? Well, and the reason why is because you're having these dreams, right? And if you're having dreams and you're running from a lion in the dream, if your body wasn't paralyzed, you'd smack your something and hurt your hand or whatever. And so the body's mechanism to allow you to be in that dream but not damage your actual body is this being paralyzed, which is kind of insane if you think about it. Your body temperature drops. So it just, calms and regulates you, right? Helps in sleep onset and maintenance. And then a couple of cool things here. So these are the two coolest things that happen during sleep that you might not really think about. Cellular repair and regeneration. So your cells are actively repaired and metabolic waste is cleared. So you're actually going in there and cleaning out stuff. It's kind of like a fast a little bit. I mean, you literally are fasting during sleep, but your body goes in and gets all the bad crap and gets rid of it because it's not busy doing all the stuff that keeps you alive during the day. And it's really vital for tissue health and disease prevention. So in the case of cancer, you got bad tissues, things like that. This is a chance for your body to self-clean, self-heal. Really, it's just really vital time for you to have every day. And then immune system strengthening. So during the night, your immune system strengthens. It's kind of the same thing, right? Your body gets a chance. It's not working. It doesn't have all this stuff to do. It's not focusing on lifting things and thinking and stresses. And it gets a chance to go in and optimize. And it enhances your immune system, helps build your defenses so that if you get in touch with a germ the next day, you're better prepared to fight against it. It supports fighting infections and support immune health. And, the funny thing is we know that sleep is so vital to recovering from things, and yet when you go to the hospital, it's like the hardest place to sleep. It's kind of weird because it's like you won't sometimes even get like you have massive leaps of getting better once you get to go home because you actually can sleep for the first time ever. So that's what happens when you sleep. So what happens if you don't get enough sleep, right? I have 2 toddlers and another one on the way. Sometimes you want to weigh the benefits of the free time, the ability to do something that you want to the benefits of sleep. And if you aren't really thinking about it, often you're going to want to take the time and just get less sleep because you want to watch the rest of that show. You want to play that game. You want to read that book, whatever it is, right? It's finally a moment of a moment to yourself. But The reality is that's a very risky choice. And, if you get less than 7 hours of sleep, overall, it increases your chance of dying by all causes. Um, there's different studies say different things, right? And I'll have some links to some sources where I got some of my material, but in the description. But somewhere around a 10% increase is probably safe to say. If you don't get enough sleep, you're 10% more likely to die by all causes. So it's weird because it affects everything. It's not just like, well, you're more likely to die from cancer or heart disease. It's just like, yeah, you're probably going to die more, like if you don't get enough sleep. So if you're regular getting 5-6 hours of sleep, it's something you should really think about because it has some serious impact. So let's talk about some of the impacts. So cardiovascular disease is linked to it. Your risk of stroke, heart attack, high blood pressure, those all go up. Part of that's due to that time where your body is regulating the heart, the cardiovascular stuff. It just doesn't get the time that it needs. And so you're always running behind and you're building up bad stuff, right? It also elevates your risk for type 2 diabetes, obesity, and impaired glucose metabolism. And really, the interesting thing is it can really screw with your insulin resistance. So if you are dealing with that issue, one of the first things you should look at is how can I get my sleep patterns in check? Now, that by itself isn't going to solve everything, obviously, but it starts that compounding effect, right? You don't sleep well, you're eating bad, you're doing all these things. Like you take one of them, you get your sleep organized, and it can have a big effect on resetting yourself. And the other thing is it can regulate your hormones too. So people are like, it's just my body doesn't want to work. Well, sometimes it's because you never gave it a chance to fix itself, right? You just let it go, and then it doesn't work because it never got a chance to actually tighten things up. Okay, weakened immunity and inflammation. So if you don't get enough sleep, your immune system is likely going to be less strong than someone who does, and you're likely to get increased inflammation markers, which for me is important because inflammation is the first step to cancer, honestly. And so for me, looking at fighting cancer, it's like I'm like anti-inflammation on everything, and not getting enough sleep can cause inflammation. And then the other thing is studies have shown that it accelerates cellular aging. So we actually all age, but inside us there are cells as well. And I want to say they're called, the ends of the cells is telomere. I forget exactly the way to telomere. I don't know. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. But the length of it gets shorter, which is a biomarker that you're aging. This is particularly seen in younger adults. And so you literally are aging yourself. And it's weird because you think, okay, there's only so much time in your life, right? So if you sleep less, you get more wake time. Well, it's kind of a mean trick. You just get X amount of time no matter what, right? Because if you were to sleep, you would get X time. But if you don't sleep, you age faster and you still get the same time. Maybe less time, actually. So sleeping less than 7 hours has some serious downsides. But what about sleeping too much? Welcome to the Goldilocks zone, right? So you have to actually get not too hot, not too cold, just right. Like you literally have to get just right to get the benefits. Because interestingly, just about everything we talked about that downsides to not enough sleep are the exact same downsides to having too much sleep. So, I think it's different for every person, but if you're getting regularly more than 9 hours of sleep and you're not a young kid or maybe pregnant or something, you likely are getting adverse impacts to this. And so what might be a regular cycle, and was for me at one time, is I would not get enough sleep Monday through Friday. And then on the weekend, I would sleep too much, right? I would get 10, 11 hours of sleep. Maybe I would drink and I'd sleep more. That's like the worst cycle, right? What is actually what you should do is you should go to bed at roughly the same time and get up roughly the same time, getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep every day. That's incredibly hard, and if you do not make an intentional decision that that's what you're going to do, you won't. And the reality is, I don't even do that, right? Like, and I'm like trying to be super focused. I get up at basically the same time every time, but like my going to bed kind of fluctuates, right? But it is important, right? So let's talk a little bit about the impacts of excessive sleep. So if you sleep too much, you're actually a higher chance of dying by all causes than if you don't sleep enough. Now, if you're sleeping a lot, often those are associated with depression and a lot of other disorders. So you're probably already on the higher risk curve. It's a tough thing. It's like, is this the cause, or is it the symptom, extra sleep? But we do know that there's at least a correlation there. And some of the things that happen when we sleep too much as well is there's links to, higher cardiovascular diseases issues, metabolic disorders, higher likelihood of obesity and diabetes if you sleep too much. And then the other thing that is interesting is the cellular aging also happens if you sleep too much. So it's like your body during sleep needs the time to like get shit done. And then once it's done, it wants you to get up and, interact with the world. And if you keep it going, then it gets bored and then tears things up. I don't know why, but it's tough because we don't get a lot of wiggle room here. So what happens if you actually sleep enough? So if you're getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep, what happens? Like, what's the point here? Well, it lowers your risk of type 2 diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, and stroke. So this channel is about fighting the 4 horsemen, right? I talked about it last week. And those are all coming to get us. And good sleep we're sitting there fighting them back, right? Supports your physical health, essential for your cardiovascular health, your body repair. We talked about that. Strong immune system. It enhances your cognitive function. So I don't know if the linkage is quite there, and I didn't dig in too much, but dementia, and you've got some issues there. So when you get enough sleep, it enhances your cognitive function. It improves your memory, your mood, your concentration. Overall, you're just going to be. I mean, we know the difference between exhausted, you show up to a meeting, versus wide awake and ready to go, right? So, like, if you're prepped and ready to go, you're going to show up better. You're going to enjoy yourself. It's going to be a great day, right? And when you look at the linkage between dementia is, and this is just purely speculation here, to be honest, is, the more active your brain works, the more it's good for heart health and good for brain health and blood health. Likely it would be good for fighting off dementia if you had genetic indicators headed that way or you were bringing toward it. Dementia is a tough one, but good sleep certainly won't hurt your chances of getting dementia. And then obviously we talked about the telomeres or whatever, right? That is where we've identified that it has the least impact on aging is when you get good sleep. All right. Kind of the key things here is it is anti-inflammation. It helps your metabolism. It can help fight insulin resistance, and your immune system gets improved. You also just feel better, right? You wake up and you show up and you're happy. That by itself should be a good enough reason. And yet for some reason, we'd rather stay up later, or sleep too much on the weekend or whatever. So, takeaway. Get some sleep. It's important. Make it a priority. Find your rhythm and do it. The benefits are insane. Next week, I'm going to dig into a little bit about how I do it and some things that might be beneficial and what not to do. I just don't have enough time for this video. Plus, this video is already pretty long. But hang out with me next week and we'll talk a little bit about how to sleep better. Perfect. All right. Well, hot take this week. Man, they don't make movies like they used to. I wish they did, but they just don't. And is that because they only strike once every now and then? It is possible that I am just looking back with rose-colored glasses. But this week I was watching, or not this week, it was recently. I watched Mulan with my daughter Lexi, and just struck by the emotional build-up and connection with the characters that I had. I don't have that with new movies for whatever reason, and I miss it. So Hollywood, get your act together, make a good movie with a great story that I can connect to, and have some killer music that ties it together, because that is the key. I've decided. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me and watching this. Those of you who might have gotten this far, have a wonderful week. God bless, and we'll see you next one.